What's going on, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome to the Nintendo Select Podcast, a weekly Nintendo Switch retrospective and nostalgia podcast where we talk about our favorite Switch memories. Hosted by me, Charlie Wacholz.
And me, Tucker Hazell.
This week, we're joined by YouTuber, comedian, and screenwriter extraordinaire Jake Steinberg as we look back on Pokemon Legends Arceus. So sit back, relax, and grab some fried potato mochi as we dive back into what has to be the most interesting Pokemon game of the Switch generation. But before we get into it, Jake, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Oh my God. Love the introduction. Thank you so much. I think it's the first time anybody's called me a YouTuber. And I was like, oh.
Wow.
I was like, oh, I'm a YouTuber. All right. I like it.
He's made it. This is the big
I'm
leagues.
here, dude. I've arrived. Yeah. So typically I'm a writer, primarily a screenwriter. Long history working in Hollywood, working on a bunch of different movies. Story consultant is like my official title. So I do a lot of working with studios, editing scripts, a lot of adding jokes in, that kind of stuff. And recently I've been making some videos on YouTube. I used to work for Game Explain, kind of a Nintendo-focused YouTube outlet.
That's right, yeah.
And now my thing I've been getting into is that I'm really now that I'm not married to an outlet and I'm just kind of doing this for fun, I've really been loving the Substack, the blog, the written word, going in, writing these little stories that I think maybe don't quite hit the same in a video. It's like, I love that written word. So I've been having a lot of fun putting some stuff out here, but I am a fan of the show. I'm happy to be here. Can't wait to talk about Legends Arceus, dude. Oh my God. Especially with the sequel on the way.
Yeah. With the sequel being potentially leaked a couple days ago, and maybe we'll hear a little bit more about it too early soon. Who knows?
That's right. Now is the time to speculate, because
that's true.
Yeah, we're like, it's funny. We planned this so long ago, and just
you
completely,
may have noticed the break
by complete
if you're watching this week to week.
Complete happenstance that we're starting recording back up when all these leaks are happening, which is just absolutely insane. But before we get into like the nitty gritty, I got a question for y'all. Which starter are you choosing? Fire, grass, or water?
Just in general? Like
interpret it how you will.
Well, I mean, I would have to go through and remember like all which I picked and be like, okay, well, which one does it balance out to? Because it's definitely a case-by-case basis for me. I don't necessarily have a favorite of the three types, but my first starter ever, my first Pokemon ever was a Turtwig. And I also am a big fan of Bulbasaur whenever I play some sort of Gen 1 thing, because Sleep Powder and Poison Powder are so much more useful for catching Pokemon. True. So I guess I go grass just overall of those, for like specifically those two. And also Rowlet, I definitely chose Rowlet in this game. So
wait,
that's the 3 for 3.
Just so I'm interpreting this correctly. So your first Pokemon game was Diamond and Pearl on the DS.
Yeah, and Charlie, it was your Gen 4 guy as well, right?
Yeah, Platinum was my first game.
Yeah.
Cool.
My first game, pretty much period, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, Pearl was my first video game. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yep. Okay, cool.
And so,
Legends was like special.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Jake, mic is yours now.
Okay, I gotta say, for me, I'm a grass boy. It almost doesn't matter. There's one game where I didn't pick the grass starter. I'm just always going green, save the planet. My first game was Pokemon Red. I chose Bulbasaur. I felt amazing about it, dude, on my Game Boy. Been picking green all the way through, and I picked grass in Legends Arceus too, but Rowlet. I think Pokemon Sun and Moon, I think that's my favorite generation. I love Alola.
Oh, dude.
So,
dude.
Hell yeah.
So when Rowlet showed up in Legends Arceus, it was over and done. Easy pick. Yeah.
Totally. Charlie?
So I gotta know before I do mine, Jake, what was the one deviation?
Oh yeah, good point.
Okay.
Do you remember?
I do. It was Tepig.
Oh, Tepig's great, dude. I love
hell
Tepig.
Yeah, dude.
Dude, Emboar.
Hell yeah.
Boosh. Yeah, no, I love that guy. And at the time, I really didn't like Snivy. I didn't like Snivy at the time.
Sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Snivy's got a bit of a tude.
Yeah, but let me ask you, when you're looking at the starters, are you looking for the cute one? Are you looking for the sophisticated one, the strong one? What is the thing that makes you go, I need to pick that one?
Which one of these three things do you wish you were?
Whoa.
Do you wish you were cute, sophisticated, or strong?
Okay. Wow.
Well, what I look for is
most starters are cute though.
Who's your favorite starter of all time if you had to pick?
I'm I might
That's
go
fucking
Rowlet.
tough.
Rowlet.
I think
Okay.
I think Bulbasaur might be my favorite actually, but I'm a fire type guy usually, almost always in fact.
Okay, I like the Bulbasaur. Charlie, I gotta say, you're a Bulbasaur kind of person.
Yeah.
There's something about I see it. I 100%. You got that.
It's the lumpy green skin.
It's the dual typing for me. I'm like, oh yeah, there's
Dude,
like,
yes, the grass poison. Like I always say, like I really want to, like if I were a gym leader, my type would be poison, and my starting Pokemon would be something in the Bulbasaur evolutionary tree.
I see it.
Yeah, depending on where in the game you're playing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, I like it.
So is your answer fire? If we're still going on this bit,
pretty consistently, I would say. Like I don't think that. I would say my first time through every region, I've chosen fire type at the very least.
Don't you think it's a little immature to be the fire person?
That's hard mode.
It's hard mode? No.
Yeah, get good.
No. Hard. I know. It disagree.
Yeah, I don't know. No. It sounds like a skill issue to me. I don't know.
It's just so, it's like there's only ever like 5 fire Pokemon in any one of these games. So you get that one that the starter, you're good through the end. Whereas you pick up any grass type, you're going out into that. You're going out into the tall fields. You're seeing grass types all over the place. You don't need that. No.
Yeah. But also like fire. Like I just think it's cool.
I'm gonna shoot some fire.
I wish I had a better reasoning for it. But when I was like 10 years old, I was like, "Yo, this fire monkey looks pretty sick. Let me go with that guy." I don't know. I think my favorite starter is definitely Bulbasaur.
Yeah.
But like, does like Umbreon count as a starter? Kind of.
Kind of.
Because you can use Eevee, I guess.
There have been some games, Pokemon Coliseum. You started out with that Umbreon.
Oh yeah.
There were, it was out there. All right, I like it. I'm satisfied with these answers.
All right, so
let's start with the game.
Yeah. So that also kind of got into one of the other things I wanted to talk about before we really got into the game was like our history with Pokemon. So I guess really what I wanted to establish is that Tucker and I, we both started with Gen 4, right?
Yeah.
So for us, like at least speaking for myself, I think that there was this like really, really cool moment where for so many years, and Jake, I'm very curious about your stance on this as someone who's been playing basically since day one.
Yeah.
But like for me, you know, coming up in like the Pokemon Go era and the era of Gen 1 always getting some kind of remake or rehash, even in the Switch era with Let's Go, I was so stoked to see Gen 4 not just get a remake, but something a little different than a remake that usually you would only expect from something that's set in Kanto or the Gen 1 kind of area. So I'm kind of curious about your perspective on that. Again, as someone who's been playing for a little bit longer and who doesn't have that kind of like first game baked in nostalgia for Gen 4 like me and Tucker might.
Yeah. I think one of the special things about Pokemon Legends Arceus, and it was special since it was revealed, is that it felt like a big swing for Pokemon. It felt like a departure. And I think when I was a kid, I remember thinking about playing Pokemon Red and Blue, playing Pokemon Stadium, and I remember thinking, oh my God, in the future, there are going to be these Pokemon games that are going to be crazy. And it's funny how we still aren't really there. We're not at what I imagined as a kid, but I think we are, of course, closer than ever. And
Game Freak loves to do the 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Of course. And I think with Game Freak,
they mosey.
Right. And I think with Game Freak specifically, any hope that you have that you think's in line with other games, you need to give them another 10 years to get there. Exactly. And then it's like, oh, okay, now we're doing it. But Legends Arceus, for me, it's like the infused action elements of it. It's a Pokemon game that says it's okay if not every single person on the world can play this game. You have to be able to use the right analog stick to control the camera.
Oh no.
I know that sounds like such a crazy thing. We are also comfortable with video games. That is like, it's
hey, don't make any assuasions on me.
No, well, yeah, there's I always like to bring up there's this Heideggerian principle. It's called ready at hand. And the idea is that it's a tool you're so comfortable with that you don't think about how it works. So like when you're driving your car, you don't think about the pistons firing. You just do it. And I think a lot of us have that with the right analog stick on a control stick. You know, we're just so used to that. But like so many people that play Pokemon, maybe Pokemon's the only game they play. And those people are just as important as us. So to have a Pokemon game that's like, okay, you have to have reaction time. You have to be in the moment making these split-second decisions, and you have to be swinging that camera around. That is a huge departure. Huge for this company. And I almost can't believe they did it, because in theory, it shrinks that potential audience size down. Whereas I think, especially with Pokemon, they try to keep it as wide as humanly possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what's interesting about, just because we haven't even really answered the Sinnoh question, but I like this point so much that I think that what Legends Arceus into Scarlet and Violet into presumably more games in those veins coming signals to me is that what Game Freak realizes is that you're right about there being a good subsect of the audience that doesn't have experience with those other things, but the train is moving forward, and we are always onboarding more people, mostly kids, who have the two analog stick mindset baked in, and frankly, the one analog stick design can feel a little bit antiquated compared to other things, and so they're like, "Look, we got to make the break somewhere." Yeah. You're right, they're so slow at making the steps forward, but like that, this is the break. Legends Arceus really is the step forward that I think we'd all been looking for. But I really like that point about control.
Definitely, and it's funny. It's like I think you also have to give it to the evolution of gaming as a whole. Now you have kids playing things like Fortnite and Roblox and Minecraft, and maybe that
they're cranking 90s.
Yeah, that gives them permission almost to say, "Oh, okay, they're capable. We can do this, and it won't be an issue for a majority of players." Yeah,
because I feel like unless you're like an iPad kid and you're only playing with like touchscreen stuff, your chances are you're probably, like you said, playing, if you're that age, you're probably playing like things like Roblox, Fortnite, or like Gorilla Tag, which again like uses completely like different controls. Like the things that are popular with
Gorilla
kids now
Tag.
This is like very inside baseball. This is like a super popular.
This is going right over my head. Okay.
I had never heard of Gorilla Tag until I started working in VR coverage. It's like this super popular, super obscure, like free game on the Quest. Kids fucking love it. It is one of the most popular. Game. Yes, it's one of the most popular games on VR, and like right now, probably one of the most popular games in general.
10 million players.
Yeah, it's insane. That game is super popular. But again, like it utilizes a more complex method of interacting. And obviously, it's more natural because you're doing things with a headset and stuff. But like, I think again, it still is again
you
raising
Gorilla
the
Tag
bar.
For my grandmother, she's gonna pass away. So I mean, yeah.
But it is like you absolutely have a great point where like the bar has been raised for these kids who are when I was a kid, I didn't know what the fuck a right analog stick was for ages. Like I remember
the DS only had one D-pad, so
I remember playing Halo with my friends in 5th grade and just completely struggling because everyone else was like, oh yeah, like I have like Call of Duty and all this shit, and my parents were like, no, you can only play Mario and Pokemon. So like I was like, oh yeah, those two things take care of the camera for you. Mario Galaxy, sorry. Mario Galaxy takes care of the camera. But yeah, I think that's an excellent point that I never really considered.
It's and the game, I think, is so much of these kinds of context is so important with Pokemon, and it being these games that are on this hybrid console, this hybrid console that has these two sticks, that maybe leaning more in the home console direction now, using what is available on that platform. This idea of everybody, I think, has that moment where you're playing Pokemon games and you're playing everyone, and then you say to yourself, have I grown out of this? Is this not for me anymore? To have this Legends Arceus game come around and be like, hey, we're actually thinking of you. Maybe we're growing up with you a little bit, is such like I think before Legends Arceus, I was not sure if Game Freak was capable of that.
Yeah, well, there's the surface level of like, hey, you're going to get a Bulbasaur in Gen 6 as like a secondary starter. There's like the hints toward it. But I think you're right. Like a lot of, I think narratively and character-wise and mechanic-wise, Legend Arceus definitely feels like that to me. And I do think that was probably what is contributing to it being the lowest selling Switch Air Pokemon game, because it is a little bit more for, not by like huge margin, but
can I add some context to that? Yeah, so I love this because it is so close in sales to BDSP. But Legends Arceus never got a holiday season. It came out early in the year, and then Scarlet and Violet
like February, right?
Then the Scarlet and Violet came out that same year in the fall, and BDSP came out months before Legends Arceus. So it was in this really small window. It did not have room to sing, and I think it's selling as well as it did, even in that context. To me, I think it said to them, oh, we can pursue this. This is, and I think that's why we're seeing a sequel to it so soon.
Totally.
Yeah. Sequel.
So, were either of you guys making content at the time when this game came out?
Oh, yeah. I got my review. My review up is 2 years old, yeah.
What was the gist of your review, Tucker? I'm curious. I feel like it's such an interesting time capsule of like when it came out, very reactionary almost, because I reviewed it as well.
Cool. Well, actually, it depends on how when it came out, you mean, because I have to plan my review discussion timing around when Abram also finishes the game. Legends Arceus is an interesting one in that we reviewed it, I think, almost a month after the game came out. And we reviewed it then because he decided he was done playing it, because he does not like this game at all. And so our review is really me trying to justify design decisions to him saying they're shit. The crux of my review of this game, when the game came out, and I still hold this true, especially because there's only been one other Pokemon game since then, is that Legends Arceus is to me what I always was playing Pokemon in my mind beforehand. And to that point, Legends Arceus frankly makes me look back at previous Pokemon games in a less positive light because they strip out they do not have the action elements that Jake was talking about. Of course, we're going to get into more. They have linear route structure. They have a lot more focus on battling, and especially trainer battles. And all of these elements are. This was my like thesis statement in my Legends Arceus review. Is that Legends Arceus takes a sledgehammer and knocks down the walls that Pokemon had before. And so now that I know that it's possible to go and explore this world and catch these creatures and exist in this world without the walls, it's liberating. And I'm like, wait, no, this is what Pokemon is to me. And so it's easily one of my favorite Pokemon games. I haven't gone back and played any of the other ones that I have in contention with it since this came out. But I think that there's a chance that like if I went back and played them all back to back, it would come up on top for me.
So let's talk a little bit about some of those walls, because I think I will get to some of the things that I wrote about it later on in specific points, but I'm curious about some of the things that were knocked down, some of those things that Game Freak took a sledgehammer to that were most like surprising or effective for you guys. Because I do agree, I feel like it is this freeing thing, especially with like the trees and the hills used to be barriers and all of a sudden they're not, And so I'm curious, what are some of these mechanical changes that you guys enjoyed the most? Was it the action stuff specifically? Was it the new stuff in the battle system? Was it the more casual method of catching? Like what were some of the things that really, really stood out to y'all?
Discovery.
Discovery. Emergent gameplay.
Yeah. So most Pokemon games, you'll find some version of this in the copy. It'll say battle, train, and catch. Those are kind of the three tenets of a Pokemon game. And
let's double check here.
And it's in there somewhere, I promise. And oh my God, look at all those physical copies. But I remember when I was like anticipating the lead up to Legends Arceus, and I remember going on the official website, and they used 3 terms that stood out to me. And they used seek, observe, catch. And I thought that was so interesting to be like these are the verbs for this game, actually. And
the ones on the back of the box say research, catch, and then there's answer the call of Arceus, which is kind of more of a narrative thing. But research and catch, you're right, those are kind of in that same vein.
And I thought that there was, when I was a kid, one of my favorite things was every new Pokemon. So my favorite Pokemon is Psyduck. And every Pokemon game, the ones that would come out with the sprite-based artwork, they didn't just use the same sprite of Psyduck. Every game, it would be a new sprite. And the way that this like gave me joy and like filled my imagination for some reason, seeing the I'm a big comic book superhero fan, and I always love like seeing a different artist or a different writer or like take a character that I just like, it's the same but different. And I kind of got that enjoyment from the different sprite-based Pokemon games, and I was always excited to see how they drew Psyduck game to game to game. And I felt that ever since they've introduced 3D, that has been lost. And it's the same 3D model every time.
Yes.
And it like the joy of a new game and seeing my old friend again is kind of gone because it's literally the same. And then Legends Arceus. And I'm wandering around a swamp and I see a little Psyduck taking a bath. And he reacts to me. He doesn't like seeing me. He turns around, he runs away. And that moment to me, magic. Because it was that moment that when I first see you, me and you, we have this little relationship, and there is something there between us that is part of my experience playing that game. And like, man, redefining that moment when you first see a Pokemon, what it does, what your options are, what you can and can't do. Like, man, just such a little tiny thing, that little half-second moment. Totally different in these games. Really love that.
Yeah.
Ugh. Yeah.
That was, I think, for me, the thing that struck me the most about this game. And I hammer on it in this review that I wrote for Pace Magazine. And I like literally the first line is Pokemon come alive in Legends Arceus. And I really think that like, you know, we even had other games that had overworld encounters, or like other games that experimented with like different ways that the grass would like rustle or shake or something like that. And even later on with Scarlet and Violet, where there would be Pokemon just wandering in the overworld. And I thank you for the visual aids.
Well, in case someone, you know, is more of a visual learner, I just want to make sure that they get the full NS experience, you know?
But I think that there's I think that there's so much care put into the life, the vivacity of this game, where it's like, who cares if the frame rate on some of these animations is like a little shaky. Like that was something that I heard a lot of complaints about compared to the relative function of the animations themselves, which I think is just indicative of like where we're at in general with video games. But like the idea that like, even if it's not running at like a very good frame rate, you could still see this Psyduck taking a bath. You could still see this like Eevee run away from you as you're trying to catch it. All these different ideas of what could happen because this world is so real when the Pokemon start fighting each other. You know, they fight each other, right? I'm not confusing that with a different game.
No, they don't. They don't fight each other.
No, they don't. They don't. No. I could have sworn that
they'll like wander around like little groups. Sometimes.
Yeah. They'll do like weird little things. They'll watch you fight and like react to it a little. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, but like the idea that they just like wanted to make it feel kind of wild, you know, kind of untamed, kind of just like this new thing. It's just so cool and so effective at making it again feel like discovery, feel like adventure, right? In
every Pokemon game, the way in which you interact with the world is through your Pokemon. When you fight another Pokemon, you're using a Pokemon. Everything in the game is you're using them. Those are your tools to explore and to battle and to do everything you do. Yeah. This is the first Pokemon game where I feel like the player is truly the main character. And there is not this extra layer between you and the world and the things that you are interacting with. It is you. You can see a Pokemon and they will fire an attack at you. You can dodge it. You can run around them. You can throw a Pokeball. You can throw your own Pokemon. You can bait them. Yeah. That, oh my God, the items are so fun to use. It's there's something about that I think it all speaks to what the game is about. This
immediacy.
Yeah, and that idea of research, that idea of observing, if you had to do all of that through the normal lens of Pokemon, there'd be this layer. And the fact that that's not there, it heightens it. You know what I mean? And the fact that the Pokedex in this game, only Pokedex ever that's written through a specific perspective. It's Professor Laventon, and he will regard himself. He will talk about himself in the Pokedex. There's an entry for Lucaria where he talks about how he's like, oh, the aura term, which I invented. And I'm like, what is this? You know what I mean? And he's like trying to, it's like, there's so much like and through the eyes and through that specific experience in this game. It all speaks to each other really well, I think.
Yeah. And for me, because you talked about that layer, and that's, I think, just a different way of interpreting what I was saying earlier of the walls that previous Pokemon games had, that I feel like Legends Arceus really took a deliberate action to flip them on their head. And for me, it was the most impactful thing. Charlie, you were talking about, like, what element of this game's design, which wall did they knock down that keyed me into loving this game personally, is the research that you were just mentioning, Jake. The Pokedex is my favorite part of Pokemon. It always has been. Completing the Pokedex, collecting the characters, learning about how you evolve them, reading the Pokedex entries, learning about the way that there's this ecology and different Pokemon exist in different biomes and different regions, and they evolve differently in different places. And Legends Arceus takes that idea that in all the other previous games was, I run in a circle in this one grass area until I get the one that I don't have before. I press A with a quick ball and they disappear. And I slot them into my box and I never see them again. And that is that number ticked off on the box. And let's just say it's Budew, for example. In Legends Arceus, completing Budew's Pokedex entry is not, I randomly encounter a Budew, press a quick ball, and then it disappears, and I never see it again. It is, I need to go see 15 Budew, and I need to attack them with fire attacks and water attacks, and I need to use one in battle and watch it use growth, because then that is going to teach me about the way that its ecology as a grass Pokemon and the moves that it can use impact the way that it interacts with the world and other Pokemon, and then evolves into Roselia and all these things. And that is the key, is that the Pokedex is a more complicated experience in this, and frankly, the focus of this. And when you think back to what made Pokemon popular, it ultimately was the battling, it was the trading, it was the link cable aspect. You can interact with your friends, but the selling point for me for Pokemon was always, got to catch them all. Obviously, that's the tagline of the series. I actually don't know if they still use that in an official capacity, but of course, we all know it. Legends Arceus is the only game where I felt that was the driving design influence of the game. Other games had that as an element that you can do, but other Pokemon games, because of those walls I was mentioning earlier and the barriers, it was things getting in the way of me doing that. It was, am I going to complete the Pokedex and catch a Pokemon? I have to whittle down its HP. I have to enter this surreal space with 2 floating circles. I have to battle through the 6 guys that are standing on the bridge that I got to do this guy and that guy to this guy. Legends Arceus is, I go attack the tree, a Burmy falls out of it, and I catch the Burmy.
Excellent. Excellent.
There we
God
go.
bless.
That
Yes.
rules.
I found a Pokemon in a
That's
tree
right.
because I understood that it was a Burmy. It's a bug grass Pokemon. It lives in the tree. And then I find it, and I add it to my thing, and I can like send it out and see it next to me on the grass, and it will chirp at my other Pokemon. It is, I'm literally getting goosebumps. I don't know if you can see. I'm literally getting goosebumps describing this, because for me, Pokemon was always about the catching and not about the battling. Frankly, I do not like traditional turn-based Pokemon battles. I don't think they're very fun. And we can certainly talk about that, because I think that is another reason why I love this game, or because of the way it treats battles. But I think I've said my piece. Like, it's the immediacy, it's the interaction, it's a focus on the research and the Pokedex and the collecting that I always saw in Pokemon. But in reality, I was trudging through a swamp of other shit I didn't like, and mechanics and barriers that were like interceding me from getting to my goal of completing the Pokedex, collecting, exploring.
And, to speak to that immediacy element really quick, I don't think it can be understated. Throwing a Pokeball in this game, it works. It feels good, and
it's got a little rumble.
And man,
the sound effects.
Did they botch it in Scarlet and Violet? Botch could be like in a way that I cannot believe. It is like the thing that I think would hold this game back if this wasn't well done is that when you throw a Pokemon into battle, that Pokemon comes out, it is in the world right where you threw it, and the battle starts. There is no, all right, we're loading a little bit. Okay, now they're coming. Okay, now give it your command. It is smooth. Same thing with catching Pokemon. This is the only Pokemon game where you can do two things at once. You can throw a Pokeball and keep walking on your merry way. That is incredibly powerful. And like, man, in terms of living in that world, because thinking about the older games where you were walking around in the grass, where you were every single thing was a single command, doing one thing at once, all of a sudden having these powers where it's, okay, for the first time in a Pokemon game, it's not my Pokemon getting strong that makes me strong. I can have skills. I can be a master of this in some way that makes me, the character, different from everybody else here. Because I'm good at moving. I'm good at dodging. I understand what that Pokemon's going to do and how to react.
I got my balls.
And I can, exactly. I can throw the smoke ball down. I can do the sticky balls. I can do, that is, you see how your character is capable of everything that they do in this game. And it doesn't make you wonder, well, couldn't you all have just fed rare candies to your Pokemon and stopped that evil team and hit the frickin' road? It's like, no. You saw how you are better, how you are stronger in this game. I think that's powerful.
Yeah, it
Charlie,
almost,
add your ethereal high level thoughts to this pile.
So I feel like it's so interesting to see how this series has evolved, because for so long it felt so insular, right? It was iterating on what it was already in a way that was inspired by what it wanted to be, right? It was always improving the visuals. It was always upping the amount of pixels on screen. It was moving from 2D to 3D, right? But the core of what a mainline Pokemon game was essentially the same, save like one or two exceptions, right? And even those exceptions are very minimal differences, right? You have the island leaders in, what are they called? The island, whatever.
Kahunas
the Kahunas, yes. The Kahunas in Sun and Moon. Those are like the most different thing in a Pokemon game for so long in terms of structure.
Yeah. We're like, whoa. There's not gyms. They're island trials. They're fucking gyms. They're
basically gyms.
I love Sun and Moon, but they're fucking
Listen,
gyms.
another time, I'll take you to school. Yes. I just played Ultra Sun this year. I've got a lot to say.
Oh shit. Okay. But it feels like this is one of the first times where Pokemon is Game Freak, the Pokemon company, are doing something that you don't see them or Nintendo doing often, where they're looking outside and drawing something in. This feels very like, I could be totally off base. Yeah, this feels inspired by Zelda. This feels inspired by Monster Hunter, right? There is this aspect, again, of life and of connection to the world and what's happening that isn't just, I'm moving on a grid or I'm moving in 8 directions, right? It's man, I don't even know how exactly to describe it other than just, it feels, as you guys said, just you feel more connected to the character you're playing as. It is a role-playing game in the sense that you are you are not the tactician controlling the tools or the party, right? Which I think it's incredibly powerful. And earlier you guys mentioned a little bit about kind of the catching and the dodging and the stealth stuff. What was the do you guys have any moments that were like particularly memorable in trying to catch or fight maybe an alpha Pokemon or something like that? Was there a moment like that where you're like, oh my god,
Jake's got one, this is nodding.
I just remember every single alpha Pokemon I saw, I was like, all right, I'm a pro gamer. I'm gonna go catch this thing. I got a level 8.
I've played every other Pokemon.
No, yeah,
of course I can.
And I figured I was like, all right, I got a million balls. I can just keep going at this thing until as the day is long. You know what I'm saying? I can like, it's not gonna kill me. I can dodge. I'm good at dodging. So I think it was like a big alpha Rapidash. I think that was the one.
Yeah.
And I remember having starting out with 50 normal Pokeballs and being like, this will be fine. I can handle this. And by the time I got down to my 4th Pokeball, I was like, maybe this is not going to happen for me. But the thing about it is that I think I've streamed Pokemon games before, and I've been trying to catch legendaries, and you throw a ball, you wait for your next turn, you throw the next ball, you throw the next ball. The journey, the act of being in this non-stop engagement with an active creature, you know what I mean? that is so fun to me. And the fact that it was possible because I didn't have to throw a Pokemon out and okay, it doesn't get caught, it uses an attack, and now that Pokemon's out, I'm out of Pokemon, I gotta go. You
can skip that whole part.
And the only thing that was going to stop me from being there was this Rapidash literally killing me. So I could just run around all day and chuck those Pokeballs, and that was really fun. And then it's funny, like it'll get mad at you. And there'll be that moment where you throw the Pokeball and then it doesn't work anymore. It like has that little knock sound. They go junk, and it's like, it's not even okay. So then you got to figure something out. Then you craft the little gooey balls and then you work them down. You throw the Pokeballs, But that kind of thing, that little like, I don't know. There's a degree to which we've all done so many Pokemon battles over and over and over again. We fought Pokemon that are stronger than us, weaker than us. This was something new. This was an experience I had not had in this franchise that I think is famous for being very slowly iterative. So that's it. Yeah, it's just kind of crazy to think about. And on your previous point with the Zelda stuff, man, that reveal trailer, they are not shy about it.
No.
It is the semiotics.
Box art.
No, it's insane. But listen,
the box art kind of lines up. Look at that.
Pokemon Legends ZA is like 3 letters away from Pokemon Legends Zelda. All right.
Look, the box art literally lines up. Do you see that? Do you see that?
It's so cool. So cool.
It's interesting to hear you talk about the ways that you would get an alpha Pokemon subdued, because I love battles. Battling is my favorite part of Pokemon. The amount of hours that I have in fucking Pokemon Showdown.
Yes.
Oh my god, it's embarrassing. Like I am a huge Pokemon battle head. And so for me, I love that there's this flexibility, right? Where instead of using the gooey balls to kind of like, get them calmed down a little bit, I was fighting them. I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. Let me chip down your health a little bit and then try again. And that was how I took them on instead.
Cool.
And
I love Pokemon games don't usually have that flexibility. They're very rigid, right? It's always there's one solution to the problem, no matter if it's a puzzle or a battle. And Legends Arceus again, Tucker. What does it do?
Sledgehammer the walls, all that stuff. Yeah. Well, it's interesting you guys bring up the approach that you took towards Alpha Pokemon, and talk about how both of you are big fans of battles, and you can take different approaches in this game with playstyle of how aggressive, tactically or physically you want to be. But I'm not that guy, and as I mentioned earlier, Pokemon battles are my least favorite part of Pokemon games, and I just get my guy up really high level, and I just kill him with whatever move that I know grass is good on water. And I blast through the games. But this is the first game where battling is an option, really. I mean, there are scripted story battles against bosses and against some other trainers and against of course the large. But what are the like a really fucking big ones? The boss ones called?
Oh,
they have a special name.
Wardens.
Oh shoot,
the Wardens.
Warden Pokemon.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So of course there are those scripted battles, which I think are a little bit more interesting to me because they are more action oriented. But also, again, it is largely optional to battle Pokemon in this game, and you can use the other tactics of baiting and putting them to sleep and waiting till they're distracted, or my favorite thing, sneaking behind them, throwing the Pokeball at them, and getting that ka-ching as that like critical hit Pokeball strikes it. It's always been fun to get the the critical strike Pokeball in other games where you get the one shake and then it lands. But this has that rumble feedback. It has the visual feedback, and you are sneaking behind them and doing it. And so I was able to largely circumvent battling in these games, in this game, and that made my experience all the better. And I like that there is that flexibility that Charlie, you were mentioning, and the idea that you're able to approach it and achieve the same goal through multiple avenues, depending on what your playstyle is.
So speaking of catching, how do you guys feel about the Hisuian forms? Like, do you have a favorite? Is there a specific standout in those? I think there's like about 20, 15, 20
new Pokemon.
New
Yeah, because there's
forms?
Hisuian forms, and then there are new Pokemon as well.
That's right. There are new Pokemon.
Well, evolutions, but
yeah, I mean they're new Pokemon though.
Well, yeah, they are new Pokemon. They're new species. What is my favorite Hisuian Pokemon? I think it's got to be Overquill. I
Overquill, hell yeah.
love Overquill.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. It's the greatest. But I love Hisuian forms. I think that the Hisuian forms, to me, struck the right balance of not it wasn't always obvious what was going to be a Hisuian form, if it was going to evolve or not, if it was going to evolve into something new or not. Of course, there was a little bit of that in Sword and Shield, and I think Sword and Shield, I think they've progressively done it better in each game. Although Scarlet and Violet barely has any Paldean forms, so like that's kind of its own thing. But I remember being wowed by Alolan forms when that was new in Gen 7. And then at the end of the day, Alolan forms are fine, but they're hit or miss in terms of their design, and ultimately they're the same Pokemon species. But with the progression of that, and finally 2 Hisuian forms, which is also it's the first time that we got a new Pokemon species in just like, this is a mainline game, but it's not a new region. Like usually there was a new region, and that's what coincided with additional new Pokemon. I think maybe the only ones before that were there were like 5 new Ultra Beasts in Ultra Sun and Moon, and
Right.
it's like Stakataka and Blisteflon and that kind of shit. But adding Overquill and Sneasler and a Cleavor, like that really
Cleavor.
connects me more to this world, and I'm like, there's something else out there. There's some new kinds of guys for me to discover, and so I think Hisuian forms are great, and they're also, I think, of the regional batches of new forms, I think they're probably the most consistent in terms of like, I like these designs. So yeah, big fan. Also, you can have your starter. It turns into a different final form at the end.
That's one of my favorite parts about it.
Me too.
It's so cool.
Yeah, me too. I think that concept, for me, the Hisuian forms, I think I maybe like the idea more than I like the specific executions of the Pokemon in this game. The one that sticks out to me the most is that Voltorb, because I like the idea of like, Pokeballs haven't been invented yet, so you're like, oh, how will Voltorb be different? And it's like, oh yeah, we're actually recontextualizing Voltorb now. He used to be this kind of like funny plant thing, and then you kind of imagine like, oh yeah, over time, as areas are more developed, Voltorb's needs change. And I think that's what is so fun about the final evolutions of the starters, where it's like they're evolving into their ultimate forms, and being in this alternate past, they have different needs. So that is dramatized through their final forms. I think that's like a fun, I don't know if a lot of people would consider that, but I consider that like a storytelling choice. It's like,
no,
what
absolutely. I was actually going to say that too.
Yeah.
Like it's so fun that this game is like taking itself just seriously enough to like be consistent with that, in terms of like, and it being a series that's all about evolution and change.
Yeah.
That does this kind of thing where it's like, oh, back then this is what they were like, and they played with it in other games too, like Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, like the primal forms thing, they touched on it, and you're like, oh, that's cool, you know.
That's cute.
But then you see it here, and it's just like, oh, this is lore, like this is like fucking, it's storytelling, you know. It's great.
Yeah, and I think that also plays into another really strong aspect of this game, is its identity as a game that literally plays into the lore because it's based in the past, which is something we've never really seen in a Pokemon game before, especially not a mainline one. And I like the fact that it rewards you as a longtime Pokemon fan on a story level, on a walking into Jubilife City, which we have not even talked about yet up to this point. I think we certainly should. And finding a character that is reminiscent of the design of a character you remember from Sinnoh or from another game. And the fact that you can then draw these connections over generations, it's like, oh shit, there's something special here. Like, these lineages have been going on for a long time. And Jubilife City evolved, or Jubilife Village evolved into Jubilife City over time. And you can kind of see the layout change, and that whole, and the Diamond Clan and the Pearl Clan, and like this whole history, I just think is really, really special. And I just loved it.
There's an item you can find in this game, and it's straight up a link cable. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And you find this link, and you're like, what is this doing in this game? And I think when you pick it up and you look at it in your inventory, it's even described as like a strange object. And you use it to obviously evolve Pokemon that would normally evolve through trait evolutions. But one of my favorite, like, there's so much actually good environmental storytelling in this game. One of my favorite little like nods is that there are these Pokemon who normally evolve through trades or through like weird objects. I'm thinking about like Magnezone or the final forms of like Electabuzz, like those Pokemon. You need these things that obviously don't exist in this time. And you only find those Pokemon towards the top of Mount Coronet because it's the closest spot to the big space-time distortion that's looming over the map the whole time. As if to say, yeah.
There we go. Okay.
Like that is
and
how
also
you do
some
it.
some of those Pokemon can appear in like the time rift bubbles that show up in the map
it's really
occasionally.
cool.
Yeah, and also like Porygon will show up in there, and Porygon's nowhere else.
Dude, Porygon, a little freak. He's got a funny Pokedex entry from Laventon. I remember he's like, dude, this thing evolved and now it's freaking out all the time. And I'm like, yeah, Laventon. It's cool stuff.
That's what using the internet will do to an MF.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, Tucker, you said you wanted to talk a little bit about Jubilee Village. I'm curious, what in particular struck you about that? Because I didn't find it like beyond, like you mentioned, like the characters that look like, my favorite characters from Diamond, Pearl, Platinum. What in particular about it was specifically memorable to you?
Well, I mean, it's the only home base in the entire Pokemon series. It's the only time you've ever seriously returned to a location on a consistent basis across the course of the entire game. And it's also basically the only location in the entire series that evolves over time as you impact the people's lives there. There have been, I mean, there really aren't side quests in Pokemon when you think about it. And Legends Arceus interacting with just the general people that are running the shops, and they're not only tying into the progression of the Pokedex, but they're also telling these little stories about the fact that these ancient people aren't used to Pokemon. And so you as someone from the future, which we haven't really talked about the fact that this is a time travel, it's an isekai story. You as someone who are used to these things are like teaching the ancient locals how to adapt to Pokemon life, and that the two can coexist, because that's like the important part of Pokemon is the symbiotic relationship between humans and Pokemon, and watching that evolve over time it's the only time we've ever seen that in the game series. And the fact that you are building it up over time, the buildings change, the people's outlook on each other change over time. The main hall gets built up over the course of the game, and I just think that level of role playing in a more literal sense that Pokemon has always just kind of touched on, that you're watching this change over time, you're impacting these people's lives, you're doing side quests. I think that that's incredibly meaningful. And it's not like it's only on those like world building bases that I like Jubilee Village. The design of the town is fine. I don't remember almost any of the buildings. The architecture is fine. It's not particularly ridiculous, but the fact that they made a like little community for the first time in the series. I think it's really a big deal.
That does actually remind me of one thing. Now that I'm thinking back on it, the end of day thing where you're like with these people eating your potato mochi, just like talking about what's going on. I think that is like so much of Pokemon feels very solitary in the mainline games. The joy of interaction with your friend on the playground or someone you want to trade with is where you get a lot of that humanity, a lot of that story from. You kind of do make your own story in a lot of these mainline Pokemon games. Yes, there is a narrative unfolding in front of you as you're kind of like actively engaging with it. But even your rival, you only meet and talk to like 5-6 times throughout the course of like a 10-15 hour game. And
the only games that have done
mostly a battle.
The only games that have done the you are going along on a journey with other friends, I think, are X and Y and Scarlet and Violet, because those have a group of characters that are interacting with you and traveling alongside you and are your rivals and your pals and your friends in different ways. And those are the only ones where I've ever felt that sense of community. Those are two of my favorite games, especially like story and character wise. And this doesn't have that in terms of, I mean, like you choose your Akaria or your Ray and the other character isn't really a character, but you have Laventon and you have all the people at the Galactic HQ, and you're interacting with them consistently. Like you go back and you see them like every day. And,
wait, I got a nerd point I gotta make.
Uh-oh,
I got a
uh-oh.
nerd point. You gotta go on the official sources. So Akari and Ray are the NPC. Your player character is actually a third party. They are not Akari or
enough.
Ray. Because the implication is that your player character is like 15 years old and they are actually Dawn or Lucas from the future. Yeah. So it's like after Arceus has selected you because you've probably beaten Diamond and Pearl, and it's like, oh, we're grabbing you from that and we're gonna take you here to save these people. So really quick on story, do you guys remember Mr. Mime?
In general?
The side quests?
Ash's dad?
He shows up in town and everybody's like, what's going on? We're getting trolled. There's a wall here and I can't see it. What is happening?
Oh, I think I do remember this. Yes.
And then you see Mr. Mime, and he's out in a corner in the field, and you run up to him, you're like, Mr. Mime, what are you doing? And then there's a wall in front of you, and you're like, what? And you got to figure out the right path to go so that you can get behind that Mr. Mime and be like, Mr. Mime, how dare you? How dare you get back in the wild? And it's like, that is the juice for me in a Pokemon game. A bunch of people going, what is this? You know, it's like, that is awesome. Like so much Pokemon, when you talk about story, when you talk about plot, people are so concerned with the things that happen in the game, the parts of the game where it stops and somebody talks to you. But I think like for me, the most beautiful, the most affecting parts of a Pokemon story are twofold. It's little things like this that feel like part of somebody's life and they feel about somebody's connection to the world. And then the second thing, which I'm kind of critical of this game in this regard, but I'm mostly just curious to hear what you two think about this. I always talk about scaffolding on my channel. I do this.
Plug.
I've been replaying a lot of Pokemon games and I've been doing close reads and trying to understand how they function as storytelling devices. And something I've noticed is that my favorite and most affecting moments are when mechanics are scaffolded. And what I mean by that is like in Pokemon Emerald, is this familiar to either of you, Ruby Sapphire?
Have I played that game?
Okay,
yes,
okay.
Of course.
Yeah.
The whole maybe first third.
Jake, I'm up the ass of this series.
All right,
buddy, come on.
First third of this game, you are going around the Hoenn region, and every time you want to get from one island to another, you have to ask Mr. Briny to take you on his boat.
Ooh, what's his Wingull's name again? Hold on. Pico.
Pico,
I got it.
dude.
Boom.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Damn.
Yeah.
Nice.
Good.
I almost thought I did.
Pull.
I almost thought I didn't get it, but I got it.
So you are this kid in this world. You have to ask this guy. You have to say, "Hey, can I have permission? Can you take me to this specific spot?" And you do this so many times in the game, and then finally, when you get stronger, when you get the move, when you beat a gym leader, when you have emerged more powerful than you were when you started this journey, you get the ability to surf, and that ability hits because your domain over this world has been properly scaffolded. You have seen it from the perspective of Mr. Briny's boat. You have seen islands that you've had to run past, that you couldn't make the choice to go there yourself. You've seen stuff in that water and you've wondered about it. And now you have the power it is dramatizing your adventure, the adventure you are going on. And I think a lot of Pokemon games fail to do this sometimes. They forget. I recently just played Pokemon Black and White on my channel. I streamed the entire game. My first time beating that game. And I hated it. Easily my least favorite Pokemon games because...
Jake, I love you.
Yes.
Not that I hate those games, but I love the boldness.
Because I found that they did not care about dramatizing your adventure. They only cared about dramatizing the vague outline of a story. The story started and stopped every time somebody interrupted the adventure I was on. And that bugged me so much. And something I like about this game is that
and I assume something also you like about Gen 7. Because Gen 7 is very much these things.
Gen 7, the beauty of when you go to do a gym challenge, when you go to these trials, the first thing they do before you battle is that you have to demonstrate that you have learned about the culture of the region, because that's what the game's about. It's about being a foreigner in this land, and you are understanding their rituals. You learn about food. You learn about dance. Those are the things that you have to do before you are allowed to battle the Pokemon. And since you successfully learned about them, you are stronger. You do better in the battles. And it's awesome. That's how you do it. And I think like in this game, since you are so much on your own when you are out in the wild, that they do this like really great job of setup and payoff with the NPCs that are waiting for you back at the camp. Because there are people at the camp that need something from you. They need a kind of Pokemon. They're looking for a specific one. They ask you to go search for something. And now it sets up this ongoing narrative for when you go out into the wild and you see that thing that you're looking for. And now that is the beginning. There's a story unfolding here that is dependent on where you went, your choices, the Pokemon you chose to catch, like that kind of stuff. I feel like that stuff is dramatized here. And you see it with a lot of the mechanics too, where you are out on your own. How many times did you take your weird ear and think, I think if I'm really janky with my jumps, I think I can get up. I think I can get up that hill. And then they give you that
the Skyrim horse tactic.
Yes, and it works. It works. And it's like, or you have to cross a river early in the game. There's an alpha, the evolution of Bibarel. There's an alpha Bibarel, and he's like across this river, and you think at just the right angle you can jump from one beach to the next. And then the ways in which you get more tools, you get stronger. These things that were once hard are now easy. You have domain over this world. I love that stuff. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's meaningful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we should definitely talk about the ride Pokemon because, or I don't know if they have a specific name in this. They're called ride Pokemon.
I think that's what they call them actually. But
I looked it up and it is they are called ride Pokemon.
Love.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, good.
Nailed it. Yeah.
The ride Pokemon are really, really cool in this because
they're so fun.
One of my favorite parts
Sneasler.
of Gen 7. Sorry, yeah, what did we say?
sorry. I just, that name is so funny. I don't know why I
Weirder?
interrupted you. I'm sorry. No, Sneasler.
Oh, Sneasler. Yeah, that's a stupid name.
It puts you in his basket. It's a horrible name.
I don't know why.
Awful. But he, little creepy long guy, just puts you in his basket, takes you up a hill.
Your little eyes.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. But the ride Pokemon in this game, I think, are the full culmination of the journey from Sun and Moon's ride Pokemon, which I thought were phenomenal upgrade to the HM system, to the following / ride Pokemon in Let's Go, where you're grabbing onto the belly of Snorlax or riding on the back of Lapras, whatever.
That was awesome.
Some of the best parts of that game. And then there's this game, which does that element where you're riding on the Pokemon, but it combines it with the ride Pokemon from Gen 7, except for their like video game mechanics.
Yeah.
Like you're climbing up a wall, you're riding around the water, which is, basically the same, but or you're gliding on the Hisuian Bravery. Like I think that is another reason why I love this game is it contextualizes traditional open world mechanics through a Pokemon lens, which is I'm going to climb this wall. I don't need to set up a set of posts or as Link, get my stamina meter up or whatever it is. You do a lot of climbing, a lot of gliding, a lot of riding around on vehicles in open world video games. But the way that you ride around a weird deer and he has a bound to him because he's a deer, or you ride on the Sneasler and you're in the little backpack. And these are things that are very Pokemonized versions of things that have been done a billion times. You're flying around a Braviary. It's no fucking different than if you're gliding in, like, say, like, I don't know, Immortals Phoenix Rising or something.
And
like
it's all, but they're all choices. There's nothing
Yeah.
in the world that, like, you look at a wall and it's like, you should climb me. It's like, you know what I mean? I think that's important. I think that's so important that it's all about the simple choices. Pokemon, I think, at its core, my favorite thing about it is that it's all about simple, meaningless choices. Which version of the game do you choose? Which starter do you choose? Do you choose to level up one guy all the way up to 100 and just force your way through battles, or do you want to balance, mix it up? Do you want to switch you know what I mean? And the fact that like there is a worse version of this game where the ride Pokemon function more like HMs. And there's like, oh, you have to see that specific texture of a wall for you to climb it. You have to take off from this specific point to fly. And
You have
the
to
fact
go to
that
a menu and
yeah.
Yeah, and that was another thing that was like kind of a step back in, or like why I was missing that in like Sword and Shield,
Yeah,
which is a game
yeah.
that I have pretty mixed feelings about.
Sure.
Is like we went from Soar in Oras, I'm like, holy shit, this is like one of the coolest things the Pokemon series ever done. To you talk to the guy and you get in the Corviknight bus, and you don't even see the Corviknight bus; it's a little doodle
Oh yeah, I
on the
forgot
screen,
about
and
that.
it just loads you to the next place. Like, damn.
Even
Charlie,
Let's Go.
Did you just remember that Soar existed? What's going on?
I
You feel
forgot
like
all about Soar. That was so
Soar's fucking
awesome.
awesome.
Soar was
I
ahead of its
love
time.
that.
Yeah.
It really was, because I honestly didn't like those games very much, but I
Yeah.
love Soar.
Yeah, Soar was cool. On that little
Soar-
purple
Soar
guy.
was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny. I think that there's like I'm so excited for the sequel to this game, Legends ZA. Because
let's talk about that.
I just want
Ooh.
to. I'm so desperate to see how they iterate on what they have here and them defining what is important to them about this series.
Yeah, we have no idea.
There's this like really small, lovely thing in Legends Arceus where so one of the games I replayed on my channel this year was Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, which are one of their famous features are the follow Pokemon, which I think is really important to people.
Yeah.
And I think the reason it was really important to people, and now I don't think it hits the same way,
No.
is right. And it's because this is so silly, but in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, that little pixel that follows you around, the only time you ever see that pixel or that specific sprite is when they are following you in the overworld. That is it. That is
so there's a little bit of experimentation. It's like, ooh, what does blank look like when
it's
I put
it's a reward for it being on your team, for it being the first one in your party. It is a flavor of the experience of those simple choices that you were making. Whereas now you have a follow Pokemon in a 3D game. That's the same guy you see in battle. That's the same guy you see in the overworld. There's nothing
100%.
fancy about it. But
even to the worst one, which is fucking BDSP, where the overworld does not look like the Pokemon.
No.
And then you just have like a shrunken down Rayquaza or whatever the hell behind you. And you're like, damn.
I will say there is a little charm to that shrunken down Rayquaza.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the chibi, it's cute. It looks like an Android.
It's not a chibi though. It's just the fucking Rayquaza sprite.
Oh, it is?
doesn't- Yeah,
Yeah.
they
I
literally
thought they
just
had
shrink
separate
down the
sprites for
actual
that,
model.
Yeah.
models for that.
I think they
Okay,
dragged the
that's less
corner
fun.
and they But
They did drag the corner.
But there's like something goofy in this game where you can just be hanging out somewhere and you just throw out the Pokeballs of all your Pokemon and they're just like it's like a realization of something that we've all seen in the anime a million times.
Absolutely.
And the fact that, and I'm almost like, there's not a lot that you can really do with them once you throw them all out. But the fact that is there, like, I don't know, there's something that does to me that I'm like, man, I wonder if in a sequel, this is something, this texture between you and the Pokemon, those walls coming down. I wonder, like, Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, I think actually kind of adopted what I'm saying about why the follow Pokemon were special in Heart Gold Soul Silver.
Totally.
Because you use Snorlax, you get a little reward. You use Machamp, he grabs you, you get a little reward, you're running around. It's like,
and you're like, finally, I get to be held by a muscular man. This is a realization of my childhood
exactly.
dreams.
And listen, real ones will remember that was actually in Sun and Moon. He would.
Oh, true.
He would. He grabbed you in those. Yeah.
Yeah, but you had to wear those fucking outfits.
Right.
God damn.
And so I just think
interesting point
Legends,
to continuing that element forward.
Please.
Where you're hanging out with your party.
Yeah.
I think it's the specific element of they're the same models, but the fact that you can do it with your whole party is the special touch.
Yes.
That you were looking for, and they'll interact with each other.
They do.
They'll-
Yeah.
But they did carry that forward a tiny bit in Scarlet and Violet when you set up camp. And you can have all your Pokemon and also your friends' Pokemon and their parties. That's the fucking anime realization.
Yeah.
Where it's like Brock and Misty and Ash are sending out all their guys and they're like hanging out all the camp. I like that a lot in Scarlet and Violet. And I'm really hoping that you're right. They like mesh these two somehow. Yeah.
So
Legends ZA though. Oh, please, Charlie. Yeah.
No, yeah.
Host of the podcast.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, in that vein, Jake, it sounds like you were a step ahead of me. In that vein, what are some other things that you guys want to see them do with Legends ZA? What is, like, was there because obviously Legends Arceus has the sauce, arguably more than maybe any other Pokemon game. But is there something missing? Is there something extra that you want to see them do or iterate on? Because again, Pokemon is all about this gradual iteration. is there some change to multiplayer you want to see? Because like, I mean, Gen 6, the multiplayer suite was maybe the best part about it, aside from Mega Evolutions, right?
Yeah.
What is some stuff that you want to see new in this next game that, or want to see improved upon?
Structure is structure is a big thing for me.
Yeah.
I think like so many of the systems in Legends Arceus, they just got them right. It just worked. Like when I'm out in the open world, I love what I'm doing there, but I don't think you can pull the same trick twice. I don't think being out in an open field, I don't think like that was cool for the setting. That was cool for all of the context around it. But what we know about Legends EA taking place primarily within Lumio City, how they contextualize, how they scaffold these things, it has to be completely different. And I think for me, it's funny. It's kind of silly, but I think some of the swings that Legends Arceus took with the battle system, the strong style, the fast style, not super exciting to me.
They didn't really bring a lot or like change as much as they seemed like they would or could.
Right. And I think if you're going to be more conservative with the battle system, be more conservative. If you're going to take a bigger swing, take a bigger swing. And so I'd like to see, I think I'd be happy going in either direction. Like it's funny. I think a lot of people in Legends Arceus, they miss things like abilities and held items like that. The loss of those things are right. And I get that too. Cause so much of Legends Arceus is like, no, move on, catch the Pokemon and keep moving. But to speak to the Mr. Briny element that I was talking about earlier, I think just like a stronger
Mr. Briny factor.
Yeah. I think just a stronger authorial hand, not with the story, but with the sequencing of what the player experiences and kind of like our missions, our goals, what we are attempting to do. Put me on the ride a little bit more. Have me, see a story through to completion and reward that with a gameplay mechanic so that I have that moment of transcendence. So I go, oh, I accomplished my task. I am stronger. The player is stronger. I'm stronger. That kind of stuff. Yeah.
I think that's really interesting too, because for a game that draws so much from Breath of the Wild, it doesn't have that same it does have some of that, the immersion gameplay, but it doesn't have the shrine on the distance effect, the enemy encampment on the distance effect, where it's like, sure, you see a Pokemon that you might want to catch or might be researching, but the amount of time and resources that it takes to like fully research that Pokemon, for example, might require you to go back anyway. So why not just go back and finish your mission, right? And I totally agree. And I think it's also ironic that I really like Gen 6, but its biggest issue is its structure and pacing, which I think is very ironic that's like kind of the thing we're looking for in a game that's probably going to be very heavily referential to Gen 6 in the first place. I think that's just very interesting.
It might be. But the interesting thing about Legends Arceus is this takes place in Sinnoh in the past.
I'm not saying it's going to be like the same. It's going to be a completely different story, different thing. It's not going to be a remake.
Well, I just think it's. I'm just
pointing that it's ironic.
Yeah.
Sure. In the broadest possible terms.
Yes.
Legends Arceus takes inspiration from Gen 4. In the broadest possible terms.
It's dressing. Right. It's set dressing. Yeah.
It's 100%. And the weirdest part of this game to me is that they didn't even attempt to match the topography of Sinnoh. There are general swamp kind of here, mountain kind of here.
Right.
But I know Sinnoh really goddamn well. It was my first game, my first region. I could draw the map of Sinnoh from my mind. There are no landmarks.
Yeah.
Like Mount Cornet's really the only thing you're going to get.
Okay.
And that's fine. I don't really give a shit. But I think I just think it's funny.
Yeah.
Because it works better for this game where it's not having to match like, oh, here's where Floroma Town would be. Here's where like whatever would be. But here's my thing about Legends EA. I think it's interesting to posit the question as what will they learn from Legends Arceus, take forward or change in the sequel to Legends Arceus, Legends EA. Because I think that is, from what we know about the game so far, I think that's the wrong question to ask. I think I think you asked that last part of it's not a sequel.
Right.
And I think the Legends part of either of these games is them trying something new with Pokemon. And so I think that Legends EA will be basically nothing like Legends Arceus. To your point, Jake, they can do another go out and explore and fill out the Pokedex thing, and they might, and I'm sure I'll love it. But I think that from what we know of Legends EA being set mostly in one city, being a modern location, very, very different from Legends Arceus.
Yeah.
I for some reason I'm like, this is a fucking city builder. Like this is like some totally different fucking genre that is going to completely change things.
Well, and we already have elements of that in Legends Arceus. Like there is a degree to which you are building up Jubilife City, so there is the seed of this idea. And I like this. I actually agree with this. I think because when I think about what does it mean to be a Legends game? I think maybe there's a slight action bent and side quests. That's like those are my two things. And like the number one thing I want from Legends EA, this is so stupid. I've wanted this my whole life from Pokemon, so forgive me. But I always think about how the more like the following Pokemon, the more like tendrils of connection a Pokemon has, the better. If the only thing I'm doing with a Pokemon is using it in a battle, the game has failed. Because it needs, and that's part of why I think HMs did afford a certain personality to your experience and how you remember and the connection you form with Pokemon. So, number one thing I've always wanted. You know how in Legends Arceus you like throw your Pokeball at a tree and the Pokemon will knock the tree down and grab a berry for you? Oh my God. Fantastic. Let's develop that idea. I want there to be like properties, elements, and interactions that Pokemon can do with the world. I want to throw an ice Pokemon at a river and it create a block that I can walk across. And I want the Pokemon to interact with the action setting as much as I, the player, did in Legends Arceus. So can I summon a ground type Pokemon and then create a shield for me, or like steps that I could climb on to get somewhere? Could I like, you know what I mean? Like there's so many, could I light a fire using a fire type Pokemon? Things like that. I would love to see just this, take it up a notch. What these things that we're kind of planting the seeds in Legends Arceus, interact a little bit more special qualities. The scope is smaller. The game is all within a city. The Pokedex is smaller. It's like, it's not a full generation game. You can do these things. So yeah,
so I totally agree. And for me,
awesome.
For me, the dream is to also iterate on the first thing that you were talking about, Jake. You were talking about your Psyduck thing, is like the personality of each individual Pokemon and them having a place in the quote unquote ecology of the place. Because again, all we know is that this is probably set mostly in one city, and it's a fucking Pokemon game. And my hope is that they continue to lean further into each individual Pokemon having its place in the ecology, in the city, in the environment. Because my favorite parts of Pokemon and what I've always imagined Pokemon is this world where each Pokemon has its niche and has its part to play. And my favorite moments in my favorite Pokemon games are where certain Pokemon are discovered in certain ways. We mentioned the moment where you can knock on a tree and you'll get a Burmy. Of course, that is semi-reminiscent of things you could do in Gold and Silver and in with the honey trees in Gen 4. But it's the moments like in Gen 7 when Wimpod runs between the different little hills and you have to catch it and you're like, well, that's because Wimpod's scared. And it shows up in the overworld and it hides in these hills because it's a little sand Pokemon. Or in Gen 7, or sorry, in Gen 9 in Paldea, that Orthworm hides in these holes, and that Grafaiai paints the trees with its art, and so you know that that's an area where you can catch it. My hope is that in this city, in Lumio City, the Pokemon that they choose, a more limited pool of Pokemon, each play a role in the environment. And so when you're looking for a bird Pokemon, you want to catch a fletchling, you toss down a little popcorn or whatever, and then they come and get the popcorn. You go to a park and you find different Pokemon doing their little thing in the park. I'm really hoping for there to be a sense of life and place to the Pokemon in city and human interactions, because it's these fleeting moments of like in Gen 7 when you would go into a city and there's like a little patch of grass in the city and you're like, they can't fucking do that. There's no grass in cities in Pokemon games, but they did in Gen 7.
Because you want to learn something. You want there to be knowledge that is that totally makes sense to me. I totally get that. So, I think it's like another strategy towards what I'm talking about with like the tendrils of connection. I think they're the same idea. And I think they work very totally get it.
So I have a theory about this that coalesces with both structure, pacing, scaffolding, and tendrils of connectivity.
Ooh.
This guy's the greatest game designer
Yeah,
ever. He just
get
fucking
him.
solved it.
So in X and Y, Lumio City, right? It is divided into 6 different plazas.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What if each of those plazas is like undeveloped and you're doing some kind of dungeon style thing where you're going out into maybe the catacombs of Paris, which is what Lumio City is, you know what I mean? And you're doing like a dungeon kind of thing, and you're relying on maybe a set of predetermined Pokemon. Maybe the professor's like, hey, here are these Pokemon that I think might be good for you to use in this thing. Or here are the kind of Pokemon you'll need, and go catch them in this wild area that's nearby. Then you go and use the fire type to light lanterns. You go and use the I don't know, the psychic type to like use telekinesis to move stuff around, you know? You go and use the flying type Pokemon to help you get across big gaps. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And I think that also can connect to the city builder stuff, because you might maybe the dungeon style progression is clearing the area for the thing to be built. And that can even be expanded upon. I don't know. I forgot how many, but I think in real life Paris has like 26 different sections that I think Lumio City is trying to reference. And so I think you could even do one for each type, you know? Like you could really just go all out. Just go like fucking nuts on it. But I think those ideas could really potentially coalesce all very well together in that kind of format where it is taking advantage of what the city is in X and Y and trying to build that up into something, you know, resembling that from nothing or very little, especially in the context of people theorizing that there's this great war that's going to be explored in this game, which I don't.
The 3,000-year war,
but, you know,
I got to tell you, I don't even think this game's in the past.
Really?
Yeah, I don't. I do not think it's in the past. I think this game takes place after X and Y.
I actually agree with that. Yeah, which is why I think the undeveloped part, I'm like, I'd never thought of it that way before, and that would certainly be an interesting approach. But again, we're basing this off of a teaser that has basically no indication of anything. We know that it's city development plan, Lumio City, and that from the wireframe graphics that we've seen, it seems to be modern day. Like these are people on benches, and you know, like they're going to cafes in the very callous way.
So I guess to.
So what we're really doing is gentrifying. We're gentrifying Lumio City.
Listen, they say redevelopment plan. They're just talking about how Pokemon X and Y had troubled development. They're like, oh, hey, let's go back. Let's give this another swing. One of my far out theories for this is you mentioned the wireframe graphics. Remember? Okay, such a weird choice, and I've been playing that over in my head. And so you know Legends Arceus and Isekai's story, right? Mm-hmm. What if this is also an Isekai story, but the method is different? Gosh. The method is different. So this is a very popular thing in anime. The Pokemon X and Y starter Pokemon, their final evolutions and stuff are based on RPG classes, right?
Yeah.
So what if the different form of their final evolutions, instead of RPG classes, we kind of go slight swerve video game RPG class, and the whole game, you're isekai'd into a video game. Yeah. So Legends ZA is actually you're in a video game about Pokemon. This is a better idea than either of your responses are giving me credit for right now. I got to tell you, it's not that bad. It's not that bad.
I'm just like trying to think about how that would look. That's very like that would be interesting as hell. Because like
all the graphics are going to be the wireframe. It's going to be like a virtual book.
So every single Pokemon game on Nintendo Switch has a defined different art style. Every single one. So I think we can we can say that will be the same for Legends ZA. If you go back to Let's Go, LG Legends, so Let's Go, some say is kind of like the prototypical Legends game. If you go back to Let's Go, you start that game, first thing that happens is a Pikachu or an Eevee come out of a TV, and then you go into it.
Wait, is that true?
That's true. The opening cutscene for those games. You are.
Wait, so they're an Eevee?
Yes. It is. There is a.
I don't even remember that. I haven't seen that fucking opening cutscene in 6 years.
Yes. Like the Nintendo Switch is there. They're on the TV. You go into the world of the game. And so
I gotta look this.
Look it up right now. Look it up and enjoy it. Kick back and go, oh my god, dang.
This is opening a whole new world.
Jake
for
was
me to
cooking right there, actually.
Let's Go.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just saying, I think like, Arceus, he gave us a phone. He like all this stuff. It gets goofy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. Are you seeing it?
No, I got the trailer. I don't want the fucking trailer. Let's go opening scene.
Yes.
Title screen. No,
I looked up on YouTube. Let's Go Pikachu. I'm putting this in the chat. I'm putting it in the chat right now.
Oh, I see it. Oh, it is the title screen. It's like before you even start.
Yeah. That little Pikachu, he jumps around. He's on the floor. He's on the table. He comes up right to your face. And then he says, okay, I'm going back in the TV, dude. I'm going back in the TV. And you go with him. Yeah.
Great point.
So.
And what do you see behind the TV? A PC. It's going to come to PC, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right.
Ladies and gentlemen.
So,
ladies and gentlemen, Switch 2 is just a computer.
Yeah.
It's just a fucking computer.
Yep.
It's a PC. It's got a tower.
So I did ask our audience, getting into Friend Coded, about some of the things that they would want to see or do or see or do in
Good music.
ZA, or hoping that they do that, like Pokemon Company does differently with ZA.
Cool.
And I didn't get a ton of replies in that realm, but we did have one person, Evan at AgroDrago on Twitter, say, I want them to play with the art style like they did here. A lot of the texture design is very painterly, especially the rocks and skyboxes. The visuals were just let down by a lack of polish, and especially lack of long distance rendering techniques. And I think that's I kind of mentioned it earlier, but I feel like the performance thing will probably be less of a concern with this game just broadly. But also the fact that it's in a city, like I think draw distance will be less of a concern.
I think this is going to be the best looking Pokemon game because it's going to be the only one that is HD and big that doesn't have to render like big distances.
What would you say the best looking Pokemon game is right now?
In terms of fidelity or my preferred art style?
Best looking one.
My preferred art style is Gen 6, but the best looking game fidelity wise is Let's Go. I think by a country mile.
I would also say I think the Let's Go art style is my favorite.
Sure. Yeah. They're great looking games.
I
love the water in those games.
High contrast colors.
Yeah.
Pokemon. Listen to me.
Well, it's actually interesting because Legends Arceus is the opposite of that. This is a relatively desaturated color palette.
Drives me crazy.
I think it works.
It does.
But I will say, let's mesh these two together.
Yes.
The idea of the art style, changing it up a little bit, and I think taking inspiration from Gen 6, which has this very pastel color palette.
Yeah.
I'm thinking a hand painted look, but it's more pastel. It's more watercolory.
Yeah.
So I'm playing Metaphor ReFantazio right now, which has a sort of sketchbook painterly look to it. And I think the pastel color palette of Gen 6 would match really well with what they try to do here.
You talked a lot about the wireframing aspect of the trailer, but the trailer of ZA also has a lot of architectural sketch looking things of like classical Parisian Art Deco buildings and stuff like that. And I think I could definitely see that. I think that I don't know. I guess Let's Go is probably the best looking Pokemon game, like in terms of like fidelity. But yeah, I think Gen 4, like specifically Heart Gold Soul Silver, is the best looking Pokemon game.
Those have great color palette. I love
Black and White 2 has a really good look to it. Like the sprite work in that game is absolutely unreal.
I have never played Black 2 or White 2, and my audience is dying for me to play them, but I was so burned by Black and White 1 that I'm like bitter and I don't want to play them.
I think they're better. I think they're better.
100%. I think Black and White 2 is like the best mainline Pokemon game.
I wouldn't go that far.
I'm so bitter about Black and White 1, but it'll happen one day. It'll happen. Yeah.
Okay, what if I told you the first gym was a punk dive bar, and it's a poison type?
Okay, that's pretty nice. That's pretty nice.
And there's a lot of things that are really cool about Black and White 2. You do the region backwards.
Yeah,
that's fucking crazy. Right.
It completely changes the order. It's
a narrative sequence.
Let's talk about this if you have time after we're done recording. because I could go on. I could really go on.
The secret, by the way, to Pokemon games on Nintendo Switch is if you have a Switch OLED, go into your settings, turn on Vivid Mode, and now all of a sudden your
What the fuck is Vivid Mode?
You don't know about Vivid Mode? You go into Vivid Mode, you turn on Vivid Mode, and it basically just turns the saturation up on it.
Guys, you turn on Vivid Mode.
No, stop it. And Pokemon games specifically, all of them look better. Every single one.
Interesting.
So there's a little cheat code for at home. Yeah.
Anything else we got for friend coded, Charlie?
A few things, yeah. I would say so. I'm just gonna go down the list and read the amount of people who basically just said the same thing, which is this is the best Pokemon game.
Wow.
We have let's see, Robert at Mr. underscore Hawks.
Is that it?
Oh my god, this is a long username. 10-month summer at 10-month summer. Oh, this is a band. 10-month summer band. Sarah at Sarah Belcher, Sarah K. Belcher.
Slipshot
Sarah.
Gaming, love Sarah. Sarah, hello. Yeah, continue.
Brian Shea, Virender Singh Jabal, and Jordan. Not Jordan. They all said that this is the best Pokemon game, or best Pokemon game in the last 10 years, best Pokemon game on Switch.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about that?
I think it's true.
I think I'm inclined to agree. Although I do think Scarlet and Violet get a bad rap because they couldn't run, but otherwise,
I agree.
Actually, pretty excellent games.
My thing with these games is that I love Legends Arceus. I think it's like a huge step. My only thing is that I do feel like they have the opportunity to make it immediately irrelevant with ZA. I'm like, you could do it.
Yeah.
You could do.
Oh, yeah, they do.
ZA could show up and say, "Remember Legends Arceus? Dumb game." Yeah. All right, and now we're all like, "Oh, we can't go back. We can't go back." So just because the thing that's so good about this game are those core systems. And it's like, man, like where they're gonna go next, I'm curious to see. Yeah, I'm not sure how I'm gonna feel about Legends Arceus in like 10 years.
Yeah,
but right now, I feel so good about it. Yeah,
yeah, it's a fascinating game to think about down the line.
Yeah,
because what's so interesting about Switch era Pokemon is that none of these godforsaken games are the same.
Yeah,
they all have different art styles. They all play differently. They all have different approaches to fucking Pokedex and side modes and trading. It's amazing because we have spent 25 years of this fucking series making the graphics better, but largely the structure was the same. And people shat their fucking pants at Gen 7 when they twisted things just a tiny little bit. And I love those games. They're my favorite games. But Pokemon on Switch each time is different. And I think that's amazing. But it also has met the most inconsistent era of Pokemon by a significant margin. They're the visual quality's going up and down. The things are working here. They're not working there. It's kind of it's like a sine wave version of the Pokemon cycle. And I just want ZA to continue that. I want it to be totally different. I want it to be this game but better, and take inspiration from here and take inspiration from there, and hopefully make something that's a harmony of all these different elements. That because each of these, we've had 5 mainline Pokemon games on Switch. Each of them have their own ideas that I love. They each have things that I don't like. But Legends Arceus, I think, is the one with the strongest vision and the best commitment to its vision. Because
100%.
When I play Let's Go, and it's a half step towards expanding the Kanto Pokedex, I'm like, oh, that's so frustrating. And I'm playing Sword and Shield, and the wild area is a half step towards an open world, but it's really fucking janky, and the routes aren't that great. And Scarlet and Violet is games that I love, but it's a rough draft of an open world game. Legends Arceus, the only thing technically that and frankly for me, gameplay wise, that I levy against it is that the resolution's low and the frame rate's not that great. And I mean that's kind of it for me, because I think that it has its idea, the first bold new idea for the entire series, I think, and nails it. But also, we're in the next era of Pokemon. We've now had 2 in 1 year open world Pokemon games, and that presumably will be the main series going forward. And so Legends Arceus, there's a chance that it gets pretty quickly outdated, but I'm okay with that, because I'm always someone who's looking for the next thing, as you were saying, Jake, to make the previous thing feel irrelevant, to completely one up on it. And even though I love this game for what it was as a big step forward in the time, if that means we finally made that step forward and suddenly it doesn't feel as crazy to have taken that step, I'm willing to sacrifice that because that means we're going to get more games that I like. Because again, this game knocked on the walls.
Yeah.
And I think Scarlet and Violet built those walls a little bit back up, but the walls are gone presumably now.
And I will say it's always hard for me to know how I'm going to feel about these games long term because I got to say, and I know people aren't going to like this take. Gen 1 still hits. It still hits. I play Red and Blue. I play that on the Game Boy, and like I go on my adventure. The first town I go to, it's Viridian City. I go up to the gym, and they say this gym is locked. Go to the next town. Why would you do that? And then so that I can go on this full journey, end up where I started, and I'm different now, and now I'm ready. And it's like, oh my god, like so little things like that, man. It's like there's stuff about that game. So I don't know. It's like Legends Arceus, lack of structure. Hard for me to, when I think about my definitive opinion on Legends Arceus, I'm thinking so much about the openness that it's hard for me to zone in on like little tiny things about the game structure like that. You know what I mean? So I think more about how much do I like those mechanics? How much do I like being out in the open world? And I love those things, especially you said the other open world comparison. I do not love being in the open world in Scarlet and Violet. So so it must have done something, right? You know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, this one's actually open zone.
That's
like,
right.
Sonic
Sorry,
Frontiers.
I shouldn't say. The Pokemon Company, they'll come for me. They'll come for me. Do not say open world.
God. Sonic Frontiers. That should turn me into the Joker.
I love that fucking game.
So, do you guys want to deliver any final thoughts on Legends Arceus before we go? Most of the friend coded is more or less just saying, yeah, this is my favorite Pokemon game on Switch. Sorry, I did touch on Jordan earlier, and I do want to get back to him because he's the only dissenting opinion that I've seen. He says the survival aspects that everyone loved didn't really do it for me. I love the exploration, movement, catching without battling, but 90% of Pokemon attacking the player got annoying after a while. I get some Pokemon attacking you, but the amount that did felt too much, which is interesting to me because I don't really feel like they were too
skill issue
compared to like the actual like the mainline Pokemon games where you're in the grass. But I have clearly misremembered a lot of things about this game, so.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like I think it's such a taste thing because it's like if I play Pokemon Emerald on my Game Boy and I'm out in the wild and I put my Game Boy down, I'm fine. I'm safe. The world does not go on without me. If I do that in Legends Arceus, when I come back and pick up my controller, I might be dead. And I like that aspect of it. I like that the world goes on without me. But I could see how somebody wouldn't. As we're wrapping things up here, final thoughts. My heart goes out. I must sing this song. In Scarlet and Violet DLC, they introduced something called the Synchro Machine. It's very stupid. Are you familiar with this?
I have not played the DLC.
Okay, it's very stupid. It is.
Oh, where you just turn into the Pokemon and run around.
Yes, it's very stupid. You control any Pokemon in the game. And the reason that they can do this is obviously since all of the Pokemon are in the overworld, they have walking and running sprites for them. So all they're doing is giving you control of those animations rather. And
I'm pretty sure those animations have been around since like just after Gen 7 because I remember people looking through the code and being like, where are they going to fucking use these?
Right. And now that they're actually in the overworld, it's like, okay, we can repurpose that and call it content. And it's this very stupid thing, and I don't know why they would do it, but there's a part of me that goes, for the first time, we started this podcast and I told you about the Pokemon games I would imagine in the future and how that got me so excited. And the one I'm still waiting for, the Pokemon Adventure, or I control the Pokemon, or I jump, or I do the attacks. I'm talking about an action Pokemon game.
You're talking about Pokepark Wii.
That's right. That's right. I'm talking about Pokepark Wii. And I just want to do battles. I want it to be more normal. But I've always had this vision of a Pokemon game where something that's great about Legends Arceus is that it's a good stream game. And I think that that's important in a modern context. In the way that like you can turn on Elden Ring and you don't need context. You can just start watching and go, oh, okay, yeah, we want to beat that guy. Legends Arceus has a taste of that. And I've always wanted to see a Pokemon game where could I take my level 1 Psyduck and on skill alone, conquer this game on skill. You know what I'm saying? Like
people do that with like a level 1 beater beating Cynthia or
and,
whatever.
and there are ways to kind of like force that within the turn-based mechanics, but I've always loved the idea of a Pokemon game having that ability of saying, I'm so good at this game, I'm so good at the mechanics that I can take this weak little guy and you just see him jumping around using water guns or whatever. And the Synchro Machine was the first time that made me go, are they thinking about this?
Jake?
Yeah.
Let me tell you. Let me give you a little bit of hopium.
All right,
let me sprinkle a little hopium dust on you.
Give me a taste.
What does Game Freak love doing? 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Right.
But in that step that still remains, there's always something that is test bed for a future game.
Right.
They're always trying a new mechanic that comes around later. I think this is absolutely something that's going to come to fruition. And I think that the fact that it's shitty in the DLC means it's going to be good in the future one, because they fucking did this with Sword and Shield as well. The following Pokemon in the Isle of Armor are ass. They're terrible. They're a lot better in Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah.
And so I think you're onto something. And I totally forgot because I haven't played those, but that's because now I'm down just thinking. Imagine you're in fucking Lumio City. You turn into a Fletchling. You get to explore on the windowsills. You get to fly up to the top.
You go grab something for somebody.
That would be awesome.
And now
and it's like a little Star Fox thing.
Okay, now that I've got you on board, brace
Now
yourselves for this. Brace yourselves. In the map of Lumio City, in the trailer for Pokemon Legends CA, if you zoom in, you can see the logo for the Synchro Machine from Scarlet and Violet.
Is that fucking true?
Yes.
Holy shit.
And so there is a very specific logo for that Synchro Machine, and that is on that map. So it looks like there is a spot where something is going on.
If I get to play as Diggersby, I will die a happy man.
I'm just saying. So just everybody, I just wanted to leave everybody with some crazy hopium. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So,
dude, I'm right there with you. And like, yeah, I feel like the timeline of that development lines up completely perfectly too.
Yes.
Just in terms of, logistically, like it totally makes sense. Yeah, that would be awesome.
God. I want to X and Y.
Maybe that's
Mega
the video
Evolution.
game aspect.
That's
the video game aspect.
Think about how X and Y, it's all about Mega Evolution. How do you achieve Mega Evolution? The bond between the trainer and the Pokemon. What better way to dramatize that bond than having you sync up and you control their movements? I just want to play a Pokemon game with a jump button. Is that a crime?
Okay.
Is that a crime? Is that a crime, I tell you?
Yes.
If it is, put me in the brig.
There's no jumping allowed.
Lock me up. Oh my God.
Tucker, any final thoughts?
Oh, I like these games, and frankly, I haven't really done a lot of Pokemon talking or thinking because the news has been more quiet than it ever has been. This is, I think, going to be the first calendar year without a new Pokemon release of any kind.
Thank God,
maybe?
honestly.
TCG Pocket.
Oh, that's fair enough. That's actually true. That's true. But this certainly has reinvigorated me. Pokemon is something that I continually rediscover my passion for.
Yes.
And Legends EA, everything that we've not seen about it excites me, because I like the fact that they're fucking teasing us with this one. This isn't we're getting the news in May and then we're gonna play the game a couple months later. They're mixing it up. They're going sicko mode on us a little bit, and so I have a good feeling about that game, and I think it's because I have a good feeling about this game. I think that whatever Game Freak B team cooked this up, call them the new A team. We're fucking knocking the other one down a peg. This is the Game Freak S team.
Yes.
And where's this is the A team? Okay, yeah, because they're like the primary team. This is the S team, baby. And we're gonna see what they can. They're the fucking Z team, and I mean that in the best way.
Excellent. Did I get a favorite Pokemon from both of you at any point in this overall?
Pyukumuku.
No, that was my original.
Okay.
I've got a plush of Pyukumuku up in my room.
Wow, that's incredible.
That rules. Oh, that's right. I forgot about the Pyukumuku plush. Yeah.
Charlie?
Yeah. Oh man, this is so tough. I mean, like Bulbasaur's a safe answer. Ampharos, Lucario, Gengar, Crobat, Umbreon. I feel like that's my team.
Okay.
That's like the team in my mind.
Yeah. Okay.
Here
Abomasnow
is
as
a
well.
collage of all of my top 5 favorite Pokemon from each region that I made.
Okay. I like this.
So you got a lot of stuff on there.
Wow, you got a Skidoo in there.
Oh, Skiddo's fucking awesome.
You
I
got
love Skiddo.
Jirachi, Farfetch. I love Farfetched. I am a
Appleton.
Farfetched man.
Farfetch'd is
Choodle.
awesome.
I love Choodle. I beat the champion with Choodle. I beat fucking Leon.
You didn't
with my-
evolve Choodle?
No,
Oh,
I didn't even evolve it.
Phalanx? Dude, I fucking
Cosmog's
love
great.
Phalanx. That's
Phalanx
the boys.
is awesome.
Wow,
That's the boys right
Phalanx,
there.
the boys.
Yeah, and Diggersby. I mentioned Diggersby.
Yeah.
I wasn't fucking lying.
Wow.
Dude, there he is.
This is
There he
nice.
is.
I love it.
I need to make one of those.
I need to add my Gen 9 ones because again, this is June 19th, 2020.
Dude,
So,
Gen 9?
This is well before.
Maybe the best generation in terms of new Pokemon designs.
Agreed.
Oh
Easy.
my god.
Easy.
Oh my
Not
god.
even close.
So
they
good.
were
not close
cooking.
at all.
Yeah, no, they
really were.
I didn't know they still had it in them like that.
Seriously,
some of my all-time favorites, Gen 9. Annihilate.
I was just about to mention Annihilate,
Dude, Annihilate is awesome.
Actually, we're just going for stories at this point. You talked about Discovery earlier, Jake. My most memorable Pokemon memory, I think, ever, is when my brother, I was on a call with him. He was in my world because great thing about Scarlet and Violet, you can just exist in the same
Right.
world together. He's like, you're not going to fucking believe what just happened to me. He's like, my Primeape evolved. And he teleports to me. I ride over on my fucking Miraidon. He throws out a Pokeball, and I see this big fucking weird white guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me. I didn't know Primeape could evolve. And it looks like this. And my brother was in my world and just showed it to me in real time.
That's
Yep.
so cool.
I've never heard
Violet
of
are
this
so
fucking Pokemon.
good.
It's the greatest thing ever.
It's
Oh
so
my God.
cool. That was one of those rare. So I played that early at Game Explain. I was reviewing that. So having that game and playing it like before there was anything on the internet, crazy experience. Because
Yeah.
every Pokemon I saw, I was like, "Who is this little boy?" You know, and I like it was. I never
Yeah.
had an experience like that. It was really fun.
Yeah.
Oh God, Palafin. That's another one I
What a
love.
banger.
Palafin, dude. Superhero mode. So good.
All right.
Cool.
And
Time to close it out, Charlie?
Before we sign out, I do want to give a shout out to this article. Tucker, I'm going to ask you to link it down below in the description. But it's
do.
written by Hana Kim for Uppercut. May it rest in peace. About kind of some of the cultural, historical implications of Legends Arceus that I think are really interesting for like learning a little bit more about like world history and the story that it's kind of telling that I think are really interesting. So definitely worth a read.
Yeah, I had actually encountered that essay before, Charlie, and I like it quite a bit. So I'm glad you brought
It's
it
a
up.
wild encounter.
Yeah.
It's like Pokemon.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you everyone so very much for tuning in to this latest, very delayed episode of Nintendo Select Podcast. Please find links to everything that all of us, especially Jake, are doing down below in the description. You can find links to his Substack, his YouTube channel, his socials, as well as Tucker's and
Holy
mine.
shit.
Uh,
It's a lot of work on
but-
my end. God damn. Stop doing so much, Jake.
Yeah,
God.
sorry.
he's just doing everything, man.
I'm just a YouTuber.
But yeah, thanks so much for watching, y'all. See you guys in the next one.